I grew up in Ojai, California, which is a small little town inland of Ventura, about half an hour from the coast, which as a kid seemed like it was a million miles away.
Sideways, you and me in between. We never met to feed, now I'm trying.
We were always up in the hills or running the creeks and fishing and, always doing something. We built a skateboard ramp in our backyard. I always had horses. I rode my horses up in the mountains all the time. We played kick the can every day of the week, and it was just kind of a small group of kids. We lived out in kind of a rural area at the base of the Los Padres National Forest. When we were little kids, my dad and mom had us young, so my dad was still kind of a kid when he had us. He was surfing on the weekends or going to rodeos up in King City or always doing something. He was just a big kid, and he was, he built some of his own boards and he loved to surf, and we just kind of followed him along, kind of begged him to take us surfing with him. The first time I was exposed to any kind of drugs was probably like sophomore year in high school. It just started showing up at parties, and there was always a crew of kids that would kind of sneak away, and you just knew something was going on that wasn't something I'd been around. I don't think I ever made a conscious decision. I think that, by the time I was exposed to drugs, I was so in love with surfing, and I wanted to surf the best I could possibly surf. That was the biggest focus in my life. And I noticed that the kids that were getting involved in drugs, they didn't seem super focused on anything other than themselves and trying to have a good time. For me, having a good time was surfing the best I possibly could, and so it was just, it wasn't that definitive moment where I said I'm not going to do drugs, but it was just became apparent to me that that wasn't something that was going to become a priority in my life. Being a professional athlete, we surf a lot. I noticed the guys that started getting into drugs, as time went on, those guys started to drag, they started to lose their focus, and their longevity just wasn't there, and I think that was the thing you noticed. They just sort of their priorities change, and they started to fall away from the focus. The kids that continue to do that, you look at them at 20, you look at them at 25, you look at them at 30, and that's when you see the big impact. When you continue to do it, when it becomes part of your life, and then you start surrounding yourself with people that do that as a lifestyle, that's when the impacts happen, but it all starts with that first time. I grew up doing, competitive surfing events. I loved it, but I found that the competition didn't make me surf better. It didn't drive me to surf better. It was the free surfing sessions when I was out with my friends, just pushing each other. And at the time, there was really no future in that. There was no way to turn that into a living. You either won big contests or you didn't have a future in pro surfing. And so after all those dreams of making it in pro surfing, I sort of let it go and moved to Oahu. And that's when it hit me. I found that big waves were something that I just came natural for me, and I loved so much, and all this stuff came together, and the next thing I knew, I went from going to junior college and doing odd jobs and surfing just for fun to traveling the world with the best surfers in the world, looking for waves that had never been ridden, and it was a dream come true.
Lay my head down on the rail, sing my way back home.
During the height of my surfing career, I was traveling 10 months out of the year. And during that time, I started to, be lucky enough to be in some surf films. For me, I was really interested in the filmmaking side of things and documenting the different cultures and the different people that we experienced, and the excitement and of documenting waves that had never been ridden. And I kind of fell in love with it. And in 1997, I had a really bad injury. The doctors said, "You're pretty much done." I said, I love filmmaking and I've been around it enough. I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna try to make this happen, and went from there.
Head down on the rail, sing my way back home.
Well, I've been with a company called Patagonia for about 5 years, and I'm involved on pretty much every level of the company. I'm a sponsored surfer for them. I help design board shorts, jackets, wetsuits, and then I also do some film work for the company and help with the marketing. So for me, it's great because every single day I go into the office, it's a different job. And in fact, I don't go into the office every day, which is even better. Some days my office is up in the mountains. Some days my office is out in the water with the design team out in the field testing products. So it's a ton of fun for me, and it's a great company. My name's Chris Malloy, and for me a natural high is being out in the ocean with my friends and family. And if there's a 10-foot swell, that's even better.
Lay my head down on the rail, sing my way back home.